Join me in a deep breath. Knowing that breath is God's breath. Knowing that that air is the air of Spirit, God, Source. It is all there is that knowing, that it's all one of the one thing we call God, Spirit, Source. Not enough big words to encompass what it is. But the feeling is awesome. That knowing that there is only this one thing, and I am of this one thing. There's no place where God ends and I begin. I am of that. All of it, all of that love is me. And guess what? All of that love is each of us. We are each of that. So we are each that love. We are each that whole and complete wisdom, light, love, joy, peace. We are each that. So I open my mind to the idea that even knowing that, I am evolving, I am growing. We are each here because we seek to grow in some way, to learn in something, to join with others in growing together, in collaborating on the next amazing moment of how Spirit is in the world. Each of us uniquely expressing all of that. Pretty cool stuff. I am so grateful. I know the wisdom imparted by not just Reverend David, but by the musicians, by the hugs, by the teachers that we each are, is welling up and filling those empty cups that we are as we set the intention to learn and grow together. We are all one, just as we are all one with pollywogs, with cypress trees, with all of it. We are one expression, unique and wonderful. So in deep gratitude for this knowing, for this oneness that fills me every day, I say thank you, Spirit. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Spirit in here, not out there. Well, it is out there. It's everywhere. Thank you for helping me know this for myself, for each of us. And I let my words go into that law. And that law is already working on it, filling the cups. I am so grateful. And so it is.
We're looking at a whole annual theme of growing deeper, rising higher. And I want to say about growing deeper is it's messy. Have you noticed? Growing deeper means we get planted deeper in the dirt. Yes, the dirt. And we become more aware of that. And we take that in, and instead of going, "Ooh, I don't like that dirt," we use it for nutrition, we use it for support, we use it for ways to grow, and then out of that comes a rising. And so that's what we're doing this month. We've been looking at the idea of love, the infinite idea of love. And so today we're going to be looking at ripples, which is the art of mindful living, and it's the infinite ripples. So A couple weeks ago, Brent and I were talking, and I became aware of how much goes into doing one of those songs like we just heard. You know, we think they just kind of show up and you know, and there it is, right? But there's recordings that have to be done, there's rehearsals that have to be done, just to do that. We don't see the ripples behind that. You know, when we get the food on our table, we don't see the farmer who's grown it or the cattle rancher who's raised it. We don't see the migrant workers who have picked it or helped support it. We don't see the truck drivers who've delivered it. And so it's oftentimes powerful to take a moment to look at the ripples behind everything. When you and I have a personal interaction or any kind of a meeting, just this, there's the ripples of my life that have brought me to this point. There's the ripples of each of your life individually, and then all of us collectively that have brought us to this point. Right before the service, Buffy and I were looking at the screensaver up there that shows some of the pictures of this building in the original condition that it was. And at one point, Buffy looks at, I think it was the back by the kitchen door there, and she looked at it and go, how did we ever have the idea that this might be a place for us to meet? And we realized because a couple people had a vision that was beyond what it was then. And so we don't see, as we sit here, the ripples that went into creating just this building. I've read a couple times, several times actually, of people who are labeled as overnight success, and they kind of quip, yeah, overnight success in 10 or 20 years in the making. You know, and so we see the ripple, we see the wave arriving on the shore without seeing its trajectory, without seeing its creation, without seeing its journey. We see the ripple on the surface, but we don't see necessarily what's happening below the surface as that is rippling. Even on a pond, that ripple on the surface is creating stuff down below that, right? It's having an impact on that. So I wanted to examine some of that today, and I wanted to use a poem from Rumi as kind of the foundation, the background, the backbone, if you will, of this examination. And it's a poem that I brought to the Wednesday night class a couple of weeks ago that I love, and it's called. It's not a well-known poem by Rumi. This is not your Out Beyond Ideas of Right Doing and Wrong Doing. It's not one of those. In fact, I actually did a search for it on the internet. I have it in a book. Now, I did a search for it by a title. Couldn't find it anywhere. Entered the opening lines of it. No, it's AI hasn't even heard of this yet. It's called The Froth and the Sea, or The Foam and the Sea. And it's a 4 pairs of stanzas with ideas. So the opening stanza goes, the one who regards the foam, and the foam is that which sits on the top of the surface, yes? The one who regards the foam explains the mystery, while the one who regards the sea, that's with a capital S, the sea, is bewildered. And I love this idea, because to explain is to have an answer for everything, to have a certainty, yes? I know exactly how this works. But the sea, we get bewildered, and I love that term bewildered. It's return to the wild. Return to our natural state of being, which doesn't have the intellect-controlled, I've got to have an explanation for everything and everything in its place, the light that we're not choosing out of the song, right? Bewildered is open. It doesn't know it all. In our Wednesday night class, we're working with a process that some people are finding challenging. It's asking questions without needing an immediate answer, but just asking the question and sitting in the question, allowing it to unfold. A few months ago when I took Prac 1, maybe 20-something years ago, 25 years ago, God, when I took Prac 1, I was Hermione Granger in the class. Ask a question, I got the answer right away. And I was in a class of what started off as 30 people. We did our Myers-Briggs test fairly early on just to kind of explore who we are. And out of the 30 people, 3 of us were extremely over on the introvert side, the extrovert side, and 27 people were over, and some of them completely over on the introvert side. You can guess which side I was on. Me and Eric Odell and Colin King, for those of you who know those people. And I had to learn over time to shut up. It's something I'm still learning, by the way. Many of you know that. And listen to the answers of other people, learning to be patient, waiting and listening, and it would help me deepen my own answers. There's a saying in Zen that if you meet a Buddha on the road, kill him. If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. And what that means, not physically, not literally, not the human person of Gautama Buddha, but killing our conceptualizations, our belief that we understand it all. And to be in a state instead of, I don't know. Zen calls this beginner mind. I don't know. I'm approaching this, and even if it looks like the very same thing I approached a week ago, it's not, and I'm not. There's that old phrase, you can't stick your foot in the same stream twice. So this is the opposite, though, of how many of us were raised, because we were raised with the idea that there is an answer, usually one right answer, and we must find that in order to pass on to the next grade or to pass the test. And in some situations this is true. You know, we don't want somebody sitting there going, gosh, I wonder if 2 + 2 really equals 2 today, really equals 4 today. There's a funny little video of it equals 22. You put the 2 and the 2 together. So in some situations this works, but not all. In life, capital life, bigger situations, it's not true. And this stanza of Rumi's, of explaining the mystery or exploring the mystery and being bewildered, can be applied to the difference between Newtonian and quantum physics. So Newtonian physics deals with certainties. Things happen, you know, if I take this microphone and drop it, first of all, Shani will not be happy with me, but secondly, it will fall and crash to the ground. Yes, every time? Most of the time? Every time, right? And so there's these certainties. I'm not going to do it. There's these certainties, and yet physicists were discovering that there were anomalies, there were things which could not be explained by traditional Newtonian physics. And from that, they developed quantum physics. Niels Bohr, who is one of the fathers of quantum physics, said those who are not shocked when they first come across quantum theory cannot possibly have understood it. Those who are not shocked when they first come across quantum theory cannot possibly have understood it. I've heard that he also said, if you're not dizzy when you contemplate quantum mechanics, you're not really understanding it. Because it's so vague, and it's a state of being bewildered. If we look out at our world today, so many are certain of the rightness and the wrongness of their views, the rightness of their views and the wrongness of other people's views. Have you noticed? Have you sometimes been in those camps? Okay. But what if there's something, ripples, happening beneath the surface that we don't fully see or understand, just like the sea, just like the infinite mystery? Can we allow ourselves to be in that place of bewilderment and simply allow the sea to be what it is? The second pair of stanzas said, the one who regards the foam forms plans, while the one who has known the sea makes their heart one with the sea. Where do plans happen? In our head, right? We make plans with our intellect. With the sea, we let our heart be one with that. There's that lovely old saying, make God laugh, tell her your plans. Okay. John Lennon sang, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. So our surface level mind makes its plans, and on the surface level, that's a good thing. Dwight Eisenhower once said, plans are worthless, but planning is everything. Plans are worthless, but planning is everything. And this illustrates the idea that having a certain plan is pointless because everything changes. The sea foam moves, doggone it. Plans are certainties where planning is process or activity. It requires flexibility. It's fluid in the process. You know, I know there are, you know, sometimes I'm a football fan, and there are certain coaches who have the first 15 or 25 plays of the game scheduled ahead of time. We're going to do this play, and then we're going to do this play, and then we're going to do this play. And how long do you think that actually lasts into the game? Because the other team is doing what? Disrupting that plan. That's their goal. When one understands the nature of the sea, the constantly changing, infinitely variable expression of the mystery, of this infinite mystery, one aligns from the heart, becoming one with the sea instead of fighting with it on the surface. About 25 years ago, I was working with a 23-year-old recent MBA graduate, and we were talking, and he had his whole life figured out, planned out. He knew exactly. He was dating a woman. He knew when they were going to get married, when they were going to have their kid, what the kid was going to grow up to be, what university they were going to go to. It was planned. I mean, this kid had everything planned out, and I was about 50 at the time. I'm sitting there kind of thinking to myself, you have no idea. You have no idea what's going to happen in your life. When we know the sea, when we regard the sea, the infinite mystery, we listen and move from a heart that is aligned with the deep mystery. This is the third stanza that he has. The one who regards the foam calculates and reckons, while the one who regards the sea is without conscious volition. In other words, we're not trying to make it happen. We're flowing with the sea. Yes, we have some direction. We have some input in the direction. But we understand that we're working with something far deeper than just our direction. For those of you who are familiar with this is the difference between what we call second kingdom and third kingdom consciousness. One says, I'm going to make life happen. And the other one says, I'm going to allow life to happen through me. I'm going to be in partnership with life. Because capital L, life is bigger than me. So there's more going on than we can see on the surface. Yet trusting that motion, trusting the motion of the infinite, trusting life, trusting this process to carry us where we need to be, just as we're taught that if we're ever caught in a riptide, instead of fighting the riptide, we need to surrender to the riptide and allow the water, the ocean, to carry us back to the shore through its path, through its direction, rather than us trying to get back to that exact spot right there. So I've been getting a deeper and a deeper sense that all that is happening around us right now in this country, in the world, is a deeper process. It's a shift. It's a movement in the sea, in the infinite sea. And all of our foam level processes, getting the right leader in and the wrong leader out, isn't what's being called for right now. I keep hearing this little message that the solution is not a political solution, but a spiritual solution. That we're being called to go deeper. We're being called to a surrender into and a deeper alignment with the infinite sea, allowing its paths and processes to unfold, guiding us into the birth of something completely new, something that, as Niels Bohr said, will shock us, will surprise us. Just as a caterpillar is shocked and surprised when it starts to become a butterfly. And the process requires what? The complete destruction of the caterpillar. Yes? And the caterpillar doesn't go willingly. It resists. For all of you who want to go resist, have fun. It fights, it releases antibodies to attack what are called the imaginal cells, which are the cells that are moving it into its butterflyness. So we are shocked by all that is happening, and we can fight or quit on the surface, stay on the foam level, or we can take a deep breath and consciously surrender into the movement of the deep sea of spirit, evolving something new, whether we like it or not. What I've learned about spirit is you might as well just say yes, because you're going anyways. That wonderful phrase from the Borg, resistance is futile. Not in a bad way or an evil way, But if the universe is going this way, and trust me, I've gone kicking and screaming down the path of transformation with everybody else, I find it's easier to just simply say, I'm going to start to try to understand this. I'm going to start to try to flow with this rather than going kicking and screaming. And it doesn't mean we don't take care of the day-to-day or the what needs to be done in our physical lives. But it also means we do that at the same time, taking a step back and having a deeper consciousness and a deeper awareness and letting that inform how we are present with the foam. Take a breath. The fourth and final pair of stanzas says, the one who regards the foam is constantly in motion, while the one who regards the sea is free of hypocrisy. So when we're living in the foam, we are running around trying to maintain everything. I have the analogy of we're trying to spin plates. You know, you ever see one of those people that, spin lots and lots of plates on tall sticks, and we've got to run around and try to maintain those and that's what it's like. When we're free of hypocrisy, we're instead acting, living, and being in alignment with our true deep sea values. We're not going this way and that way at the same time. We're not trying to do that. We're not trying to be all things to all people. Instead, we're being true, as that song again called for, being true, aligned with our sea-based heart, our spirit-based heart. And those who know this deep knowing don't run around yelling about it. Oh, look at me, I'm so enlightened. They live it. They share their knowing freely by their embodiment and expression of it. And their own energy field, their own life force becomes a healing force. You know, when that parable of the woman touching the hem of the garment of Jesus and being healed is because he was healing happening. Not because he knew about or even practiced and did healing. He was wholeness in form. And so we allow that quality of spirit to have its way with us. That quality of the sea to move us instead of us trying to move the sea. Our own life force becomes its own invocation of spirit, not by thinking about it or loudly declaring it to be so while not really knowing it to be so. This is why Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching said, those who know do not speak, and those who speak do not know. And those who know don't have to speak, they live it. You know they know simply because of their lives. The mystical poem of Rumi that we've been working with calls us to look deeper, to go deeper, to be deeper, to not get caught up in the surface foam. Certainly to see it, it's there, but not get caught up in it. And as we remember the interbeingness of all of us, of all of life that I spoke about the first Sunday of this month, that we don't exist in a vacuum, right? We don't exist as separate little individuals. We are the infinite having an individualized experience, but we ourselves are not separate from, as Buffy said in that opening prayer, from that at any point in time. There's no boundary in which God stops and we begin. We are that. So we are interbeing. And then a week ago, Sunday, a couple Sundays ago, I guess now, I talked about the interrelationship of all life. We are all in relationship with each other. We are all interrelated. I remember Alan Watts having a little saying one time that says there isn't a baby that burps in Mill Valley that doesn't affect the farthest star. It's all the same fabric. It's all interrelated. And so as we remember this, we can understand that our own going deep ripples, affects all of life. When I do my own healing work, it's not just David's own healing work. It's all of us healing work. We don't have to shout about it. We don't have to talk about it. We don't have to create clever social media memes for it. Sorry, Sandy. We have to live it. And to do so, we must dive deeply into the sea, becoming aligned with it becoming aligned with its nature, making our hearts one with it. Being willing to be bewildered, not always needing certainty and plans. Are you willing to play with that? Are you willing to get bewildered if you're not already? So one practice this week, spend some time in the infinite sea. Spend some time in that contemplation of that which is greater than you or I individually. Ask questions without needing immediate answers. Listen from your heart and your soul. The class we're doing on Wednesday night, Buffy called it, it's a very gentle process. And one of the reasons it's gentle is it's a very heart-based process. We don't try to figure out the stuff. We listen from our hearts. We explore from our heart. It's a whole different, much more gentle process. So listen from your heart and your soul. A meditation teacher long ago said, meditation is like being in a stuffy room and opening a window to let the breeze blow. But the breeze might not be blowing when you first open the window. And so you can either get mad and say, well, this doesn't work, and slam the window back shut, or you can simply sit with the window open and await the breeze movement, the movement of the breeze. And so to sit, take some time to be in that sea, to take some time to open to that breeze, to sit and listen and let the breeze arrive on its schedule, its process, being willing to live in uncertainty. Are you willing to play with that this week? To play that practice of simply sitting in, being with, knowing, listening to that deep sea that lives within you, lives within me, lives within all of us. Yes? That was a question. Okay, a couple of you might timidly be willing to do that.
Yes.
And one is more bold about that. So I want to close with a quote from Mark Nepo. If peace comes from seeing the whole, then misery stems from a loss of perspective. If peace comes from seeing the whole, and that's what we try to do when we lift up in consciousness, is to see the whole. Misery comes from a loss of perspective. It comes from, I'm just going to get focused on this little point right here. We have an affirmation. Say this with me. I spend time listening to and experiencing the deep sea of spirit within me, and then I live from that. One more time. I spend time listening to and experiencing the deep sea of spirit within me, and then I live from that. So I do, and so it is. Thank you.